In today's video, we're going to go over the top 5 things that you must know about carb or calorie cycling. And just before we get into it, if you're enjoying this type of content, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification around this video somewhere. So when it comes to carb cycling, the first thing that we need to consider is it's not a magic trick. You know, carb cycling isn't something that's just going to miraculously make you get a body transformation. We need to understand that it's there to improve performance and to potentially improve adherence of our diet, you know, more calories over the weekend, so on and so forth. So firstly, what is carb cycling? Now, carb cycling is effectively where we have more carbs or calories on some days and less on others. And there's 2 ways that we can do this. We can either just do a traditional carb cycle where you would have more calories on and carbohydrates on training days and less on rest days, or more of a carbo load approach. So this is where we effectively have a baseline of calorie and carbs, and then one day of the week carbs will go through the roof to fuel a bigger performance day. Be that through if you're an athlete and you've got a game day, be that through if you're running a marathon or you've got a bigger leg day that you want to be more fueled for. Okay, then the third option is where you can mix the 2 together. So you can have low carbs, moderate carbs, and a high carb day. So you might have low carbs on rest days, high carbs on, you know, training days, or moderate carbs on training days, and then higher carbs as a carbo load surrounding a bigger performance day. And then the flip side of that is, of course, you can look at it from adherence perspective. So you might have lower carbs or lower calories throughout the week and maybe slightly more on the weekend, so you can enjoy yourself a little bit more. And we call this like a flexi day because cheat days are a pile of shit. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen with you, and I'm just going to kind of almost run you through what this can kind of look like. So in layman's terms, let's say we've got, you know, the days of the week right here. So we'll have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what we might look at is, the first thing we might say, if we're going for a training regime, maybe 3 days on, 1 day off, or 2 days on, 1 day off. So let's say we'll use my training split. So I go more so by the week as opposed to a rotation, just because I work my training regime around my football, because I play football competitively as well. So what I might look at is, if I'm doing a push-pull legs upper lower split, is I might look at going, right, so I've got push here, pull here, rest, legs, upper, rest, lower. So if my training split looks like this right here, so effectively we've got training day, rest day, training day, rest day, training day, and repeat. So if I'm looking for a traditional, just a carb cycle to improve performance in my training days throughout the whole week, what I might look at is going, if I can change this color right here, I might have high carb because it's a training day, high carb training day, low carb non-training day, high carb, low carb, high carb. So that could be more of a traditional. So we'll put here traditional, get used to the handwriting. Okay, then if we're going to be going for a little bit more of like a carbo loading day, so for me, for instance, what I do, my carbo load kind of regime looks a little bit like this. So I would have moderate carb across the entire week, but on Friday I would have high carbs. So Friday is my high carb day to fuel performance here. Okay, so I'm going to fuel performance for my Saturday, so I'm going to carb load on the Friday so I can utilize those carbs going into game day Saturday, and then moderate carbs here. So my carb split looks a little bit more like this. So I have 316 on my regular days and 522 on my carb load day, which is the Friday. So that's how it looks a little bit more for me. Okay, and that fuels performance for the following day being a Saturday. So if you're looking for a carb load, you want to do it the day prior as opposed to the day of. Okay, so that's the first thing we really want to consider here. And then obviously the last one is what we can use for more of an adherence with nutrition and dieting effectively. It could look at moderate carb, or I'm going to put slightly lower carb, so SLC, slightly lower carb, and then here slightly higher carbs or calories. We can look at them both, because slightly higher carbs does mean slightly higher calories, so we can look at it from that perspective. So this is just a bit of a brief example of what that could look like for you. And then for me, if I'm looking at my personal journey when I'm carbo loading on a Friday, the way it looks like for me is I would have 2,812 calories in and around on the non-training day, and then it's about 3,784 calories on the train or the higher carbo overload day. So this is my calorie split just here, which kind of works around for me, full performance coming into Saturday game day. So that's a bit of an example of how it could look, but the most important thing we need to consider, which brings me on to the third key, is calories have to equate across the week. So what you can't do is you can't carb overload or calorie cycle or carb cycle most days and then your calories be completely out of whack. So you can't, let's just say, to make the maths easy, on 200 carbs a day, you can't just go, right, I'm going to carb cycle, so I'm just going to have even more calories and carbs on the training day, so then across the week your calories go through the roof. What you want to ensure that you're doing is, if we are making our calories and carbs higher for performance or for adherence with our diet, we have to make sure other days come lower, so across the week on average our calories are matched. That's the key. Calories must be matched for this approach to work and for it to work effectively. Okay, number 4 is food quality matters as well. So when we're looking at carbing up, it's not a case that we just go, right, I'm carbing up, I'm just gonna have loads of pizzas and burgers and chocolate cake. We wanna make sure we're going for good high quality foods, so like rice, oats, bananas, you know, potatoes, these kind of things that are gonna be good fuels of or good sources of carbs that's gonna fuel our body going into our performance. Or from an adherence perspective, you know, it's almost like 80-20 rule, right? So you need to be able to enjoy yourself. So if you're doing it from more of a dieting adherence perspective over a weekend, you might want to enjoy yourself a little bit, and that's okay, because adherence is key, but we want to make sure we're not trying to go too gung-ho with crazy foods. Okay, so they're the top 5 considerations for you when it comes to calorie cycling and carb cycling and how it can help you fuel your performance. Any questions, please drop it in the comments. I'm more than happy to go through and answer anything, and we've got a completely free ebook on exactly how you can drop body fat and utilize carb cycling with a little bit more detail if you just drop a comment below with the word carb cycling, and I'll fling it straight over to you. But in the meantime, if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe and please share it with a friend you'd also think would find value, and we'll see you back next week.